There we go. Hi, I'm Guy,
Hi, I'm Troy.
Hi, I'm Alex.
and this is Geek Tank.
Your We Have Advantage on Initiative size podcast. We went first.
I thought we were just doing it because I haven't been added to the opening yet.
Yes, that's absolutely
That was
why.
it.
Sure. Meanwhile, I'm looking on Google to figure out why everybody sounds like they're in a tunnel.
I'm in a tunnel. That's why.
Ooh.
I mean, totally what's going on is I'm in a tunnel.
Well, happy Father's Day to you, fathers.
Hey, happy Father's Day to you as well.
Happy
Thank you.
Father's Day, fellow father people.
So, I got to play a new video game at the request of my kids, and I'm looking for where I put the wiki to it now because it's vanished. Whoop. Maybe I don't have it open anymore. So, in any case, I'll just quickly look for it again. But they wanted me to play a game called Helldivers 2, and my kiddos have the family Steam account. So that means those who are on the family can download and play other family members' games, but you can only have only as many players on at the same time as number of games you have in the library. So since two of my kiddos have the game, one of them just observed while I used their account to play the game with one of them, and then they swapped out, and then I played with the other one. And it didn't give me any kind of motion sickness, so I'll probably end up getting it since they enjoy it. But when I was watching the opening and I started playing, I'm like, oh, so this is Starship Troopers, the movie, the game.
Okay.
Because it's not the book, because there's no powered suits of armor that you're in, but it's the same propaganda, and you're basically fighting giant bugs on other planets, and they're dropping you in drop pods, and it's all your other standard fare of like you choose your loadout when you're going in and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was kind of fun. It's a third person thing, so it's over the shoulder, but you can do the whole zooming in with your scope and go to first person if you want. Apparently, Helldivers 1 came out in 2015-esque, and it was a top-down shooter game. And so let's see, it says 2015. The new one came out not too long ago, 2024. And it's a cooperative third-person shooter, so it's totally went different with the style of game it is, but it's still set in the same universe.
Okay. Cool. It kind of reminds me, since speaking of like stuff that's on the horizon, the new GTA, started off kind of like top-down view, and
Yeah.
by the time you got to 3, it was third-person view.
And 3 was my first experience, but then I went back and played the first one. I'm like, what the hell?
What is this crap? But okay, cool. And so I was it fun?
It was interesting. It was I feel like it needs a bit more variety, but maybe I just haven't gotten to that part yet. One thing I do appreciate with it is, although you can spend money and buy all of the cosmetic stuff and the upgrades, it does have a built-in system that you don't have to. You just have to grind to get the stuff. And so it means everything's available to anyone without having to spend money. If you want it faster, you have to spend the money for it.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah. So were you like doing just sort of, were you just doing instances or campaign, or what were you doing?
There's a campaign mode. We were just doing instances where it's you get,
Hey, Bob.
they have daily events or weekly events where along its storyline, it'll be like, this planet's getting attacked by bugs. People should go here to fight this planet and get the special stuff, and they're like retrieving samples and things. But ultimately, it's all about shooting stuff. You can call down, they call them stratagems, and you open up your stratagem thing, and it'll give you like an up, down, left, right type code, and you have to use your AWSD buttons to input the code. But you can do that to have them airdrop supplies to you, or do a mobile orbital airstrike on an area. So it has some depth to it.
It's WASD, non-real gamer. Gatekeep.
Yeah.
I was thinking that too. I was like, that's weird.
That's all good. But that's cool. And then so in these instances and rounds, like, about how long does it take to complete one?
Oh, the most of them give you a time limit, and the one I was in, you had only 30 minutes to finish it.
Okay.
And we finished our mission in about 10 minutes, but we spent the extra time searching the rest of the map, looking for stuff to pick up because you can get additional credits and medals and things.
Ah, okay.
Um,
So was that extra time that you spent doing that searching and such worth it, or would you have been better off
doing
getting a
other
reward,
missions.
bombing out, and then hitting the lobby for another
I
run?
don't know the currency enough yet to know if that was worth it. It seemed like it. And all of your stuff you buy is in tiers, and you have to buy a certain amount of stuff from one tier before the next tier unlocks. So unlocking like the big sniper rifle, I had to buy other stuff from the one tier to get to that one. But again, when I say buy, it's all in currency money. I didn't have to actually spend any money at all from real life.
Okay.
And it's I could tell it that so far that I can't tell how well stealthing works in it. And since there's sniper rifles, there was doing, and you can't really climb very well, but you can climb a little bit. And in one map, when we airdropped in, because you pick on the map where you want to drop in, but you don't see the terrain. And I had airdropped in on top of like this like mini mountain, and I'm stuck there. I'm like, well, I'm not really stuck there, but I'm up there that I normally couldn't get there. I'm like, hey guys, since I have the sniper rifle, you go on ahead. I've got a really good vantage point here by accident. I'm just going to snipe things, and that was fun for a while, but eventually because they were going around steeper terrain, I had to come down to catch up with them. So I'm hoping that the more, if I play some more, that it'll turn out that as long as you're being super stealthy, you can pull off sniper techniques. The other extreme of that is I found a flamethrower on one map, and I was basically doing melee fighting with a flamethrower against all the bugs as they approached. And I kept making the StarCraft reference. Can I interest you in some propane and propane accessories? Which is also a King of the Hill reference, but from
yes,
StarCraft.
yes. So is the game only player versus NPCs? Or do they have any PvP, or there's any modes where like players are playing as the bugs, or how does that work?
Let's see, player versus player. We only did teamwork. Players are as much a danger to each other as there was friendly fire. So when I was using the flamethrower, I had to be sure I was not shooting into my own people. Let's see. Cooperative multiplayer with up to 4 players, but does not include a dedicated single-player campaign. Also provides optional cross-play between PlayStation 5 and Windows. One person's asking, will it get player versus player? Nope, no player versus player.
Okay.
But friendly fire, so...
Yeah, the company says this is to reduce toxic elements from the community. So...
Fair.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Sounds neat. Yeah, we've been just doing our Borderlands thing. Some of us, including Guy and myself, we've been kind of stymied at the next area that next DLC we're going into is the Mr. Torg's Badass Critter of Badassitude, which is really cool. But the enemies we're running into are 44th level, and so we've been having to grind in the regular game a little bit in order to get more of our party up to 44th level or more, so that way, one, can more easily kill the monster the enemies are coming up against, and two, if they drop gear or you go to the shop to buy gear, you'll be buying level appropriate gear that you can use,
as opposed to being like 12 levels below.
Right. We weren't that bad, but yeah, it was just a few levels below. It does make a difference.
Yeah.
I have been playing Neo: The World Ends With You, which is a sequel to The World Ends With You. And I've been enjoying it, but I've kind of gotten to this point where the amount of time I'm playing it is mostly for it's not progressing the storyline very quickly, and it's gotten kind of boring because of that. So I've actually stopped playing it. I just started playing Persona 5 Tactica, which is a tactics game with the Persona 5 characters. If you're very familiar with this Persona 5 storyline, it appears to take place during one of the during winter break in the main game, which of course doesn't happen in the main game. But there are ways, to go around that a little bit with the timeline and everything. It's like, oh well, this is obviously they did this thing to get this ending, and now this is a new thing that's happening now, as opposed to the main game going on. And it's all chibi in the art style and such. At least in the English voice acting cast, it's the same voice actors, which is cool. Yeah, and one thing that I think that I was very pleasantly surprised to find is that it appears that whenever you get finished fighting whatever, doing a battle, the XP goes to the entire party. It's a party level XP, which most tactic games aren't. Most tactics games are if Guy and Alex and Troy are the party members, and Troy keeps on getting all the kills, then Troy gets all the experience points and gets ahead of Guy and Alex, and this becomes a snowballing problem of your one or two super characters just get more and more super, while the rest of the characters are just being pulled along.
I feel like we get that with Borderlands, though.
Kind of. I mean, Borderlands, it does, like, my character is the highest level out of our group, but whenever I kill something, I only get like the really big beefy things. I'm getting like 12 XP, and
Okay,
y'all
I
are
see what
getting
you're saying.
hundreds. So that's how you guys can be progressing and catching up to me. Most tactics games are very much whoever you get some experience points for landing a hit or a spell or whatever, or an item attack, and then when a character gets a kill, then they get a big boost of experience points, which is, I don't actually know where that first started in tactics games, but that's really been my experience. I remember Bob used to love like the Shining Force games, I think they were, and they were very much that way. I'd watch him play, and he'd be like, all right, now I'm going to sit here and beat the crap out of this guy, and now hold them there while the mage comes up. You brute. 2 damage. Win. Mage levels up because, it's just kind of silly.
We've beaten it down to its glass jaw.
Yep. Get the kill. Get the kill. Smash its toenail.
That experience scumming reminds me of one of the Mass Effects. I can't remember which one, but Angela's a big fan of Mass Effect, and I think she's the one who recommended it to me. But I'd found that when you're in the vehicle and you're fighting the big worms from Dune, basically, you want to shoot them with that because it does the most damage. But then I found out that, if you shoot it a whole bunch but don't kill it, then jump out of your little tank and then shoot it with your gun, you get massive experience points because you killed it with your gun.
Right.
Instead of the tank. And I'm like, Then I carried that over to Red Dead Redemption 2. Because you could shoot the bear a bunch, but then take out your knife for the final kill and go, you killed a bear with your knife. It's like,
right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Nice.
So it sounds like it had a little bit of Diablo 2 type experience stuff. As long as you got in there and got the hit in, you got the experience points.
Well, in the Persona 5 Tactica, I don't think it even it doesn't even count that at all. It's just at the end of the fight that I only fought twice before I had to come on down and do this podcast thing. But it was like I beat the 3 enemies that they had me beat, and then it's like party XP 80. And then when I beat the next like group of 5 enemies, it's like party XP 180 or 180 level 2. I'm like, okay, well, I like that. I like that a lot. I don't have to, means I can try to use who's best for the situation, not, as I said, beat down the enemy and then have like, another character come running up and gotcha. Because that's always like a mini game that I've never enjoyed.
Yeah.
It's not one that I like in role-playing games either, so I just like the experience concept of, you only get experience points for the things you kill and only if you contribute to the fight. It's like, are we playing a video game or are we role-playing?
Right. Yeah. And so there's so that's interesting. And then The kiddo and I just watched Mirror Mask, movie directed and produced by Dave McKean, who does a lot of surreal art. And so it was a pretty surreal movie to watch. It was pretty cool, but it's also kind of one of those movies I'm like, I don't know if we're gonna watch this again. It's like I said, the art direction is very strong, whether you like it or not. But it's very much Dave McKean's work, and we're kind of like, I'm probably not gonna watch it again, no problem. And then we, it's like trying to figure out if we should watch. I mean, we're definitely watching stuff together. Like maybe we'll watch Top Secret together if we can get me and the wifey and the kiddo. I haven't seen the movie since the '90s, and I remember
haven't seen that movie since 2 days ago because I did the exact same thing with my kid.
Nice, yeah. It's like I know there's definitely some sexual innuendo jokes going on.
Yeah, although I've got to admit, my kid just laughed and laughed and laughed. So she got it, and
I'm pretty sure my kid's at the point where they would either not get it or just be embarrassed.
Yeah, we're past embarrassed, but yeah, no, that was. And then, of course, the jokes that I have been referring to this entire time in my life, they finally got to see some of them, and I thought when we first went into it, I was like, oh, I'm worried that she's gonna think we ruined it, because I told the jokes already and stuff. But no, it was for some reason even funnier for her to see the jokes that we've been making statements of this whole time.
Yeah,
that added to it. So that was kind of cool.
It took us over 2 hours to wipe the smile from his face.
Yes.
But yeah, no, that's cool.
But I just think it's funny you mentioned Top Secret, and I'm like, that's what we watched literally 2 days ago.
Yeah, and then we're probably gonna watch. My spouse and I, we have been watching the Mayfair Witches TV series. We're only about 3 or 4 episodes into it. Of course, it's like an 8-episode season, I think, and it's interesting. It's very interesting. Like, to me, it's not as good as Interview with the Vampire, but it's still pretty good so far. But I think that one thing that they do differently that I appreciate is that the city, New Orleans, is much more a character in Mayfair Witches, the television show, than it was in Interview. In Interview, though they're in New Orleans and there is they travel the city, very quickly it becomes most of the city is backdrop. Wherein in Mayfair Witches, it seems to be a bit more integrated, which is cool. Like cool. One of the main characters was just in the episode we watched recently was wound up being, there's some fire alarm thing going on in the house. I better, leave. And everyone's sort of waiting for the fire department to show up. She's like, I'm just gonna walk over there for a while, and runs into like a funeral procession, and then gets involved with that. I was like, oh, that's really cool. So, kind of like that. So,
that is cool.
Are they connected with the characters? Do they have any cross storylines going, or is it just in the same universe?
Oh, okay. It is.
I know universe. They're both Anne Rice. I just haven't read any.
Anne Rice. So in the first books in both of those series, if you want to call them, there's no real crossover. They've started doing a thing with the Talamasca in the shows very early on, which is kind of like a this shadowy organization that tries to keep tabs on the supernatural stuff going on. And I believe in later books of both series, then there is crossover. I didn't get to those. I did with the Talamasca stuff from the Vampire Chronicles I know of. I don't know if they did it in the Mayfair series, but I'm pretty sure that there is crossover between some of the characters in later books. Interesting note, my ex-best friend, who his handle, at least in one of the communities he was in, I think it was Amtgard, was Lasher, and Lasher is the name of one of the characters in the Mayfair Witches. And I'm watching this, I'm like, yeah, it's a generational abuser. That's great. I wish I'd maybe known that when he was using that handle. Anyway, womp womp. Um, but yeah, no. So as far as I've never read any of the Mayfair books. As far as Anne Rice is concerned, I read some of her Sleeping Beauty stuff, with the bondage, S&M, erotica stuff. And I also read the Vampire Chronicles through Memnoch the Devil, which is like 6 of them. Interview, Vampire Lestat, Queen of the Damned, Tale of the Body Thief, Memnoch. There's another one in there, I think. I can't remember. I could look it up. But yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I was just wondering if they're going to have it later on further seasons, if they're going to have characters crossover or anything.
Wouldn't surprise me, especially with this Talamasca thing going on, because the Talamasca have been introduced in the TV series of Interview, and they have been introduced in the TV series of Mayfair Witches. So there's potential for a crossover there. I did think it was kind of weird because, like, I never read the books. Like, now in this cinematic, universe, it's like, oh yeah, they live in New Orleans too, and the Talamasca's here. It's like, wonder why they never ran into each other before. Even a throwaway line of, I'm not fucking those fucking vampires. You fucking kidding me? That'd be like, that'd go a long way to be like, no, we basically just avoided them and called it good, which is fair, because at least in the Vampire Chronicles, Lestat de Leoncourt is a mushroom cloud laying motherfucker. So probably best to not run afoul of the vampires.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just in general. Just like in Sinners. You've chased the monster to your home and the sun's going down and you don't want our help. We will not be seen for the rest of the movie because we fulfilled our duty in getting the monster away from where we live. Cheers.
So fun. So after talking about, I don't think we talked about it online. I feel like we talked about this just hanging out when we're talking about Walking Dead. I don't think that was on air. After talking about it, I've went back and started watching season 1 just out of curiosity because it's been so long since I've seen it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's actually a lot more depth in season 1, and it's just comparing it to where it is now. And the way it's going. And I also noticed that the zombies have varying speeds of movement because some are almost running when chasing people.
I remember that too.
Yeah, and it's like that seemed to have gone away now because they all shamble now.
Right. They're all tired. They're tired zombies. They don't get to sleep anymore.
It's been a long war.
They're dead tired.
Yeah. So I know you two have watched Walking Dead. No, watched Walking Dead. I've only seen it the first episode. My spouse and I we're trying to watch it, and we're like, these people are doing lots of yelling for sometimes appropriately, but oftentimes not. I think we don't need to watch this. So we didn't. We just weren't grabbed by it. I've read the first trade paperback or the first hardcover collection. And that's where Troy and I were talking, and it seemed like one thing that we had brought up was that they seemed to let's try this. Oh, this worked. Let's not do this anymore. Let's stink like zombies and move slowly. This is a good idea. Cool, it worked until the rain washed the zombie scent off us. Cool. Never do it again.
Never do it again.
I don't know if are there more instances like that. I mean, you won't be spoiling for me. I'm not going to watch it. Yeah. Or even read it. I was reading the one book and I was kind of like, you know what? I'm glad I read this book, but I'm not going to read it anymore.
There's some stuff they do in the series that they never did in the book. And it falls in that category again of well, cool. It works. It's a neat idea. Why don't you do that every time? They'll be scavenging. So you're going house to house in a neighborhood. And so they'll open up the door. They're prepared. They got their weapons and everything. And they just start knocking on the wall. And then the zombies hear the noise, so they come to the door and they bottleneck them and kill them all. And then knock on the wall again and repeat until no more zombies. It's the safest way to do it. And then they only do that a few times. It's like, why don't you do that at every freaking place that you go to when you're doing that? I mean, obviously, if you're trying to be sneaky and not have humans hear you, you're not going to do that. But yeah, they only use that tactic a few times. Yeah, there's just a lot of like little stuff where you think that you would learn eventually. You need to stick with your melee weapons. Don't use your guns because they're too noisy. Understand how to use height advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Zombies can't climb ladders. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't remember what. Gosh, it was. I don't remember what universe it was in, and but I remember reading a story, and it was some kind of zombie apocalypse thing, and there's this one guy. Maybe it was a movie. Maybe you've seen this. It's like people are they're traveling, and they're doing the best they can, and like some dude comes rolling through in like this loud ass Jeep, and he goes to a water tower and he fires off a couple more shots and he climbs up the water tower and waits for the zombies to gather. He's like, all right, this place is pretty cool. Time to make camp and then go somewhere else, find some more gas and ammo.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that wasn't in World War Z, since it's a collection of a bunch of little stuff. And unlike the movie, it follows multiple characters. The movie only follows Brad Pitt's character.
Mm-hmm.
There's a part later on, season 5 or something, further down in Walking Dead, the series. I don't believe they did this in the book, the comic book, where they're up against a really organized group of people that have a base. And so they rig up some speakers on a truck and lure a bunch of zombies to the base.
I don't know. The scene that was probably what I would probably do and the most horrific was the one with the metal crusher, the grinders,
yeah,
the grinding wheels. Which is exactly what I would do. I mean, I'd like just put a radio up there on the top and then just put grinding wheels up and then run a grinding wheel. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was one of those where it's a shredder for metal, so you could throw anything in like a car, and it would just shred the car
with the conveyor belt. So you get all the zombies on it, and it just
So the zombies were on this conveyor belt getting thrown into this crusher, and the crusher was just crushing them. And I was like, yeah, see, that's what I would do. I mean, like, there would come a time, I'm sure, where either, you'd finally have so much gore in there that it would just be horrible. But at least for a while, you could significantly reduce the population.
One of my brother's idea was you set up a wood chipper in a trap, like an open trap door in a semi truck trailer, and have a ramp up to it and play music, so that way all the zombies funnel in, then fall into the wood chipper, and put a big sign up that says "No humans allowed," something like that.
Right. So no people would try to accidentally get into the wood chipper.
Let's run in here and get away from the zombies. Oh no!
Oh no!
Well,
you know what? You know what time it is, though.
It's time for something else that's for only humans,
and that is. The Geek Tank is sponsored by Kieran Games, Geekway Homes, the Massage Wizard, and your
mom. I took a big breath for this one, but I didn't warn anybody that I was going to do it. Guy's faking like he always does with his orgasms. So there.
Right. Yeah. Just like that.
I'm out of breath.
So yeah. Go buy stuff from our sponsors and your mom.
Do the thing.
Thank you, sponsors. Yay, sponsors.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
Sponsors.
Let's see. Sponsors. I feel like there was other
apparently So it's so funny because we started talking about Top Secret. I went and because I was looking to see where did I stream it from because I'd forgotten. I can't remember where anything's streaming anymore. I did discover that, by the way, your Roku will search all of your streaming services if you use the Roku's search. And I was like, oh, that's very useful since I'm often going, I don't remember which one of these stupid streaming.
Cool.
But yeah.
I think I have it on the Blu-ray.
Yeah, I mean, and it was one of those things. It's out on Amazon, and when I clicked on Amazon, found out that my air conditioning unit that I don't use anymore has been recalled. So I
Has
was
been
like,
recalled for like killing people who use it in the summertime,
actually, probably it would kill me ultimately, because apparently what it's doing is building up mold, and I'm allergic. I'm a very allergic to mold.
or oh,
So
Did you buy it on
theoretically, it could
Amazon?
kill me.
Did you buy it on Amazon?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Okay, so that's how they know you have it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I bought it on Amazon many moons ago, and it's been sitting in the window in the auxiliary room, and it's kind of warm and everything like that. I was like, oh, maybe I'll see if it spins up or whatever. But now I'm like, nope. I'm just gonna pull it out and throw it away.
Well, if it's on recall, does that mean they're going to replace it?
They said replace it or refund, so I might go for refund, I guess.
Yeah, and get a new one without mold, or don't get one at all. Since you're
don't get one at all.
Yeah.
That's really what it'll boil down to.
That's a win-win. No mold and money in your pocket.
Yeah.
woohoo!
Sort of that kind of thing.
Achievement unlocked.
Right? So, yeah, Bob, I'm kind of doing something similar. Just trying to get everything into a digital format so it's easy to transport. Because nothing's easy to transport anymore, and so that's my new plan de battle.
Yeah. Oh, you want to hear something like sad, guy? I decided to look up like what happened to Animego.
Oh no.
Yeah, there's I don't remember who owns it now, but like the guys who started it, they wound up selling it, and then they also wound up like losing rights to a bunch of stuff. They still have some rights, like to like Riding Bean and some other stuff. But the one that I was like, I couldn't believe they still have the rights to it. I'm like, oh, I'll have to actually order it from them, and it's reasonably priced. But the Vampire Princess Miyu OAVs on DVD.
Really?
Yeah. So I do not have those in anything but Laserdisc.
Right? I was gonna say, I think we all have Miyu and Laserdisc. And
Yeah.
That's what we got.
So I'm like, get rid of that laser.
Well,
up and,
our beloved beloved known buddy Kevin has a Laserdisc player now. He bought one.
Yeah.
For the express purposes of transferring all these Laserdiscs that we can't do anything with anymore.
Oh,
so
I didn't know you needed a Laserdisc player, because I have one. I've had one for years.
Yeah, I had one too for years. It didn't power up ultimately. So
yeah, no, mine still works.
Mine does not. Alas, mine does not.
Yeah.
So
I think what Alex is saying is he could have loaned you his Laserdisc.
Yeah, I could have like totally.
I'm not.
Over my
this has become a thing that's important to me. That has started about. Let's see. What month is it? That's right. 6 months ago.
Right.
It wasn't actually as critical to me until 6 months ago, and it is now on the to-do list. But it's not top on the to-do list. There's some other things that are much more critical,
like not getting mold.
Yeah, that's a big one on the to-do list. But yeah. It is in fact National Pollinator Week, so says Google. I'm just saying.
Wow, this is holy crap. Sorry, like because one of the things that they lost was, of course, Lone Wolf and Cub. There's a Criterion collection of Lone Wolf and Cub.
There is. I saw
it's
that.
Only $100.
Oh man, that's easy.
Yeah, buying that.
Yep. You're like, click right now while broadcasting.
Like,
we're transmitting Alex's information right now. Here's his credit card. His CVV code.
But yeah, that is awesome.
It is awesome. So for Father's Day, I posted like a little thing, a memorial about my dad, because I miss my dad as one does on Father's Day. And like 4 bots got on there with this like link to an obituary that was not my dad's, but was obviously click this obituary and we will take all of your information. And I'm like, first of all, nobody's going to buy that. Like, nobody on this link. But second of all, man, talk about remarkably disrespectful. Like, bots that are targeted for people who are doing memorials about people who've passed away, to specifically go, here's the memorial for that person. It's really a memorial and it's going to steal all your information. I mean, like, bro, come on. I was really like, I already find those guys to be somewhat offensive to begin with, but that was really rude. I mean, this is like really bad. I was like, oh gosh, did you guys think that went through before you did it?
No, they did not.
No, they didn't. I'm still entertained by, although recently I don't know what I clicked on, but something I clicked on changed one of the ads, and boy, the ads are remarkably not safe for work on Facebook. And I'm like, how did I get this? Because this is beyond the pale of anything I've ever clicked on that I'm aware of. And B, how is this permitted? Like, it was like a AI have sex with Elsa from Frozen game. And I'm like,
so what was this website again?
Yes. Right. www.havesexwithelsa.frozen.com. But I'm like, how did this pass muster on their, it's graphic. And I'm like, so I'm like, and since I'm not the kind of person who does click on sites like that, how many people who are like kids are getting this ad? I mean, like, if I clicked on like porn sites and stuff like that, it'd make more sense. I'd be like, okay, that makes some sense. You reap what you sow, but I don't. And so now I'm like, whoa, that means that there are kids out there that are getting this ad and they're like getting an eyeful of more of Elsa than you thought. And I'm like, how is this? I'm hoping against hope that they're just targeting on the fact that I'm a 50-year-old man, and that's what it was. Instead of
you do look up Disney stuff.
Yeah, I look up Disney stuff, so it's entirely plausible that that's where they're coming in from. I'm just hoping that it's not just anybody. It's Disney plus. He's a 50-year-old man. So obviously he's the target audience, but boy, oh boy, that's just like this is way wild. So I've been spending a lot of time trying to train my my various news feeds so that they will slow down on the politics and start delivering more and more starships and cat videos for my health. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to get them to kind of calm down a little.
Cats piloting starships.
Yeah, cats piloting starships and then knocking stuff off of the control panels, which is what they do, or falling asleep on their back, which is like 90% of what cat videos are, is them knocking stuff off and staring at you and then falling asleep on their back. But yeah, it's so I've been working really hard to like try to train, because I had accidentally clicked on a few political things a few months back, and it's astonishing how fast the algorithm locked on. Like, boy,
engagement.
It was like a politics seeking missile, like all of them. And of course, once you do that to Facebook, it passes through to Threads and to Instagram. So all three of them went full 100% politics all the time. And I'm like, oh. And it's just like, it's not, I mean, I'm up to date. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need my everything to be 100% politics. It's so stressful. And it's like, and so anyway, apparently I'm not the only anthropologist out there that's starting to kind of poke around and say, are we sure we want to be doing this to our society? You know, like politics is good, but the fact
profits.
but the fact that you get 100% politics all the time as soon
But
as you click on the
engagement.
button. Yeah.
For profits.
Ooh. Yeah. The only profits I want to deal with are the ones from Bejor, just saying.
Yep. I get it.
Thank you.
I get it. I've watched some DS9.
You like I've watched a little bit. It was actually kind of funny because we were watching DS9 when James's mom called. James's mom. There you go.
Mom.
And we were talking about how we were watching DS9, and she's like, "Yeah, that sounds about right." And I'm like, "When your friends' parents know, you know, it's like that's when you're like, yep,
Yep. Yeah, it's like I've been encouraging my kiddo to come on down and pull something off the library that I have here. I think I've mentioned, or even behind me. You know, just as I remember when I was a kid, and sometimes you'd be visiting family or something, and like you're just bored out of your skull. You can't play another game of backgammon or solitaire, and you're like, just give me something to read that's somewhere near my wheelhouse. You know, before we had the engagement machine.
mm-hmm.
And actually, it's we wound up watching something that had Fist of the North Star footage in it. And they're like, what is that? I'm like, well, kid,
It's about time.
It is deeply silly until it isn't.
Right.
I'm not even talking about the gore and everything. Like, it's deeply silly until it isn't. And I only have the first collection. But I'm like, here you go, off the library downstairs. And so they've been reading it as they're going to bed, reading their bedtime last few nights. And so, like, in the morning, I've been, or later, the next day, I've been getting things like, oh, he did the 100 crack Fist of the North Star. Like, oh, has he gotten to the Fist of Remorse yet? Oh, which one's that one? He jams his thumbs into their temples. And he says, when I pull my thumbs, you have 10 seconds to live. Think about all the terrible things you've done and all the pain you've caused. I think today she was like, got to the thumbs, Dad. I'm like, yep. Like, did he do the mountain slitter technique where you just?
We've been watching Cowboy Bebop, so
Cool.
we're into Bebop now.
Live action or anime?
The anime.
The live action's actually
the original.
Good.
Yeah, the live action is good, but I wanted to start her off on the original.
Yeah,
we haven't gotten to Faye yet, but we've got 9, so that was a plus.
I'm probably going to when we watch Bebop, which will be relatively soon, I will probably start on the live action. Simply because honestly, I like the costume choices for Faye better.
Fair.
And also, I also think that some of the things they did to reconfigure the story make a lot more sense. But whenever I see anime Faye on the Bebop, I'm like, that ship looks cold.
Yeah.
Why is she wearing more clothes? That ship looks cold.
That ship does look cold.
It's like,
although Spike also runs around in just pants, so
yeah, he does. But most of the time, he is like wearing leg sleeves and arm sleeves.
Yeah. I mean, not to say that you're wrong on that one, but also, I don't know if you guys saw the Facebook post I made, but I managed to. There was a vehicle chase, and the vehicle drove over the camera, and I was like, "Did that license plate just say a Star Trek thing?" And so I backed it up. Frame. And then it was actually in C-1702, but I was like, yeah, but that's still close enough.
Yeah.
And of course, that was when my child first now got to experience the thing that you guys know, but I haven't watched enough anime with her that I have frame accurate vision. Mm-hmm. She was like, I didn't even catch that. I was like, Sorry, it's a gift. I don't know.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I can
Speaking
see
of,
these things as they pass by. My brain's like, did you notice that? No. Yeah. So
speaking of, I'm probably going to show Bubblegum
hello, Brent.
Crisis to the kiddos soon.
Yeah, that's actually where I'm headed to next is
Yeah.
BGC.
Because I have a couple songs from BGC on my main playlist that I play all the time. I've got Mad Machine, and I've got I forget the name of the song, the one, Burning Highway.
Yeah, Burning Highway.
Yeah,
It's because the name of it isn't Burning Highway.
Yeah, it's like it's the Devil Man phenomena.
Yep.
That song is awesome. What's the name? Devil Man? And I was like, no, it's named Supercharger Heaven. I don't care what it says in the liner notes. The song's name is Devil Man. But yeah, no, it's so once again I'll have to go through it and be like, okay, well, sexism. But there's still some good stuff here.
I mean, but it's still, and I'm thinking about, I have been thinking a lot about the fact that we never really included my child in role playing, and now I'm going to start up a role playing game with them, and they have requested to start with Cyberpunk.
Cool.
So I figure I will do the pre part of the Cyberpunk story that I want to do with everybody else, but with them, so that I can get them kind of started. And I was just going to have 2 or 3 people in that so that they could get used to it. But
cool.
The more I start reading about autism and things like that, the more I'm finding that role playing is a big positive thing for autistic people, because it's good for learning and understanding empathy. And this was underscored by the little video that I was making with all of you guys, because many of you brought up the commentary that empathy was part of what came through from that. And, specifically show them Cyborg over Cyberpunk. Oh, they are already way, way, way into Cyberpunk. Edge Runners. And they got into Edge Runners via YouTube videos. So now they want to see all of Edge Runners as it was. And I'm like, okay, but, this is not friendly. Edge Runners is a great series, but it's not friendly. Mm-hmm. So they've been watching that too. So once we're done with Edge Runners, Bob's recommending Cyborg over Cyberpunk. Mm-hmm. And not disagreeing with you, Bob, at all. Just saying that they have already gotten, them and their buddies at school are way into Edge Runners. And so they've already kind of gotten a lot of that. And so
cool. Yeah, and I've got
Edge Runners is a little rough.
I've got at least the 3 major versions of Blade Runner on Blu-ray. If those aren't
I see what you're saying. TTRPG. Yeah, I actually do not know what system I will be using. Whether I'll be using Cyberpunk Red, or I actually have all of Shadowrun, because I had a Humble Bundle at one point in time. Humble Bundle put out all of the Shadowrun source books, like all of them. So I was like, I dug Shadowrun. So I downloaded, I bought it and downloaded the whole mess. So I actually have including the frickin' 470 page source main book, which is just brutal. But the problem is, it's, Shadowrun, which there's nothing wrong with Shadowrun, but once you get up high enough that you're rolling like 700 dice to try.
It's not Cyberpunk. It's its own. It's a Cyberpunk adjacent, in my opinion, since it incorporates magic.
Yeah, Bob and I are in the same thing, which is I
would like to implore you guys to use a non-crunchy rule set.
Yeah, that's why I'm waffling. There is a cyberpunk version for come on, the system that I'm into now.
Savage Worlds.
Worlds. Yeah, there's Savage Cyberpunk. Yeah, I like Savage Worlds. It's a relatively simple and not very crunchy system, which fits well for my world, for my universe. Right. And in the also pluses category, Savage World uses all the dice. I really like systems that use all the dice because I always get out these pretty sets of like 5,000 dice and whatever, and you get a full set of dice, and then the system only uses 6-siders, and you're like, mer. You know,
Right.
like, I mean, even my favorite system of all, like ICE from back in the days, only used the 10s.
Mhm.
So it was like, we still were like, mer. Yeah. So I love any system that uses all the dice.
Yeah. Speaking of like, I don't know why I hadn't brought this up before, but like up here I do have like the Red Star books,
Mm-hmm.
and they actually made a Red Star D20 source book.
Nice.
And
I mean, D20 is also a decent system.
and then it's an add-on to D20 Modern. So I'm like, I should probably do some Red Star stuff here in the not too distant future. But yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
cyberpunk adjacent as well, but with magic. But that's okay. You don't. I don't necessarily think that magic means it's not cyberpunk. But I can see where some
Right.
people would be like, "What? No." So
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what the Savage Cyberpunk. Oh, it's just called Cyberpunk.
probably, yeah.
Savage Punk.
It's not complicated.
Nope.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm actually kind of really digging Suede. It's got enough variety. Savage Worlds. It's got enough variety to make it interesting, but it's not so crunchy that you can't just, play it.
Yeah.
Oh, I might have missed it, but hi Brent.
Yeah.
He's busy doing
Brent.
important stuff, watching news.
It's all good.
I think I started with that. Didn't want to do that. Oh, it's called
Yes.
Interface Zero. That's what it's called.
Okay. Actually,
So,
the kiddo sent me over like a tiny little video of somebody talking about we just watched Centaur World, and there's a very capable horse called Becky Apples in Centaur World. And they're in the regular world, so they're not all cartoonish and everything, but they're definitely like infiltrating this area and like murdering guards and such. And I'm like, that's wild. But then my kiddo sent me a video of somebody saying, I want to have a talking horse in a role-playing game. And the backstory is that this is not magic. Just that their mom is a centaur, their dad is a horse-headed minotaur. They've got a little sister who's just a human. and they're a horse.
That actually would be kind of funny.
And the character's a horse, and the horse can talk, okay? But since we're playing this role-playing game, it's gonna have character levels. I'm gonna play a talking horse rogue.
Is his name Ed?
He didn't say what the name would be, but it said like the horse is sneaking around. If it gets caught, like just look at the guard and be like, no one will ever believe you. I'm like, right. That's so dumb. I want to do that in a one shot.
I heard Bill Murray would go to like random parties without being invited.
Yes.
And go wash the dishes and like do these things, and he'd say no one will ever believe you, and then leave and do that kind of stuff.
No, he then and as that story got around, people would start like just sort of posting on social media where he might see it saying, he's going to be in Denver for this comedy set. Well, let's throw a party and invite him via Facebook and see if he shows up. And sometimes he would.
Nice.
Yeah. Super cool.
Yeah. People being human. That's a nice change.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the funniest part about that would be the kid. I think that would be like almost as much fun to play as anything else. The little sister that was full human.
My dad's a Minotaur. My mom's a Centaur.
Yeah, right? And like that's the kind of thing that I was talking to Troy, and like in most games, such as you now with session 0, and perhaps we should this will be our launching pad for maybe bringing this up next Geek Tank.
Mm-hmm.
But most games you are expected to have a session 0 and talk about what you're going to do and stuff, and as role playing become more prevalent and we're saltier dogs now, we can build in relationships. But like, very few games say you have to. Like
Right.
Fiasco says you have to. But it'd be really fun to, like, in a one shot, like we'd be the brother and sister.
Yeah.
We had a couple players like who like, this is a dumb, stupid idea. Let's do this for this 4 hours and see where it takes us.
Yeah.
But it's also the kind of thing that'd be, and I think this is having relationships in game, like it from the outset. Would be interesting too. I remember I played a game with it was 3.0, D&D 3.0 before 3.5, and JD was GMing. And Angela and I decided to play a married couple. And this game didn't last for long, but it was pretty neat to have that dynamic just from the beginning. And friends, couples or thruples or family members and stuff. Or yeah, I think we should talk. I think we should like percolate on that. And
yeah, I mean, we could bring up the fact that there's a pair of twins in the Critical Role series played by 2 different players.
Mhm.
And they play twins and 2 different voice actors portraying the 2 different characters, and that
aren't twins.
Aha.
Yeah, they aren't twins, but
twist.
they do play there. But I agree that there has been some very interesting side stories that they've gone on together as a team, which has made a lot more color in Critical Role. I've been actually listening to the podcast Critical Role as well.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's a lot more to, of course, obviously their podcasts are effectively turn on the recorder and then turn it off when the game's over 5 hours later. So each podcast is 5 hours long. Mm-hmm. So you pretty much you have to like you have to kind of invest a little bit on this. But that's a lot. What's been interesting is watching Critical Role with Troy, because they're making references that I know what they're talking about. That it's very subtle because they're very good about their scripting. But there's a couple of times they've made a reference. I'm like, I didn't see that in the show, but I know what they're talking about. They're talking about that battle in Kragheimer, So, yeah, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, I think that would be a good TLDR. I think that'd be great, Alex. Yeah. Good idea.
I remember your Star Trek game. Mariah and I's character actually had a background together that we came up with, because my character is an old guy who, for some reason, was still lower ranked. He was Mariah's character's number 2.
Right.
He's the Riker to her Picard, but her Picard was like 20 years younger than my character.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd been in the service for a long time, but his record had been wiped. And only Mariah and he knew what had happened.
Right.
And it was one of these things where the crew mutinied on an entirely other ship without Mariah's character. The crew mutinied, and my character decided to save the captain, which required killing all the crew.
Right.
And so he had this really dark history and instead of getting kicked out of Starfleet, he just got demoted and then put in this other ship that's like, put him over here where nothing happens. And then, of course, that's where everything happens now, since that's the main ship of the story that's being told. But yeah, it's interesting having characters with knowledge of each other that other characters don't know, and that way you can see how that develops throughout the story.
Right. Which was cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's it for our time, though. We managed to land on the 10 o'clock there instead of blasting past it like some kind of supersonic jet.
Right. And so next week we'll be talking about developing your characters.
Yeah, let's talk about characters next week.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us, Brent. Thank you for joining us, Bob. We appreciate having you guys here. But unfortunately, that is, in fact, all the time we have for today. Until next week, I've been Guy.
I've been Troy.
And I've been Alex.
And this is Geek Tank.